In 1847, a king agrees with Panjurli god to give a portion of his forest land to the locals in exchange for peace and happiness granted by a shaman who is supposedly possessed by Daiva. He warns the king that his family and successors should keep the word and not reclaim the land, which will incur the wrath of Panjurli's companion, the Gyuliga Daiva. In 1970, the king's successor asks the Bhootha Kola performer, who is supposedly possessed by Panjurli, to make the locals hand over the land to him, to which the performer denies and states he will pay dearly if he tries to. He raises the doubt on performer's possession by Panjurli, to which the performer replies he would vanish in the forest if he is Panjurli, after which he runs into the forest and is indeed never seen again. As warned, the king's successor eventually dies a mysterious death a few months later, vomiting blood, on the steps of the court, as warned by Panjurli. In 1990, Muralidhar is a forest officer tasked with converting that land into a forest reserve. He is challenged by Shiva, a Kambla athlete from Kadubettu and the performer's son. Shiva is backed by his patron and the village's landlord, Devendra Saturu, who is the king's successor in the present day. Murali and his staff start erecting a fence along the earmarked forest reserve. Shiva falls in love with Leela and uses his connections to appoint her as a forest guard. The villagers try to stop the fencing, but the police and forest guards brutally suppress them and do so anyway, which causes a rift between Leela and Shiva, even though she could do nothing about it. Meanwhile, Shiva is asked to perform the Bhootha Kola, but he denies as he is traumatized by his father's mystical disappearance. As the feud between Murali and Shiva intensifies, Murali decides to arrest Shiva and his friends and heads to their hideout along with Devendra's henchman, Sudhakar. However, they accidentally destroy Murali's car and, thinking they killed everyone inside, go into hiding. A few days later, they return to their respective homes to meet their families. Shiva makes up with Leela and tells her that he will surrender. However, all are caught by the police and forest guards the morning after. When Shiva's cousin Garuva, who performs Bhootha Kola, requests Devendra to release Shiva, the latter tries to bribe him and to act as if Panjurli tells the villagers to give him their land in the next Bhootha Kola ceremony. Garuva refuses, and Devendra kills him. Learning that Murali has figured out his ulterior motive, he decides to set Shiva against him. Having learned about Garuva's death, Shiva meets Devendra, who lies about Murali being Garuva's killer. Enraged, Shiva heads to kill Murali, but learns from his friend Mahadeva, the blacksmith, that Devendra himself is Garuva's killer. Shiva is attacked by Devendra's henchmen, Kumar and others, but manages to escape and meets the villagers, who Murali has told about Devendra's land seizure. Shiva reveals that it was Devendra who killed Garuva, and he and Murali set aside their grudge and unite the village. Devendra and his henchmen attack, leading to an intense battle where several of the villagers are killed. Shiva, who almost gets killed in the fight, gets possessed by Gyuliga Daiva and kills Devendra and his henchmen. A few months after the battle, Shiva performs the Bhootha Kola in which he is possessed by Panjurli. He makes Murali and the villagers join hands in a symbolic gesture and disappears into the forest forever after meeting what seems to be his father's spirit. The film ends with Shiva and Leela's son asking Sundara about his father's disappearance and Sundara narrating the same, implying that the entire film was delivered as such.